Happy Wednesday to you, or should I say happy hump day? This is John McEntyre Money Show live prime time. I'm John McEntyre. Today is October the 23rd, 2024. Yep, we're trucking along. We're a week away from the big candy day. So it's always a special time here. We get excited for that one. I had a stat about the actual sales. I'll make sure to do it tomorrow. I forgot to put it in my notes. Um, but they were saying that actual candy sales was um, the overall spending of Halloween um, was down about 3%, but the actual candy sales was up. It was in other areas where the actual um, decrease happened. And that was, all the other stuff, decorations, costumes, stuff like that. They said, but uh, candy sales was up, even though chocolate supply was not as robust as it has been. I said, that's okay, as long as, as long as we have a few Snickers, a couple of, Reese cups, I'm good. So, wish that would be a good question of the day. What's your favorite Halloween candy? But we'll get to that one. But we have a good show this evening. But you know the routine. We're going to cover some wallet wins that I've received. Go into the topic, and then we will have another show in the bag. So our first wallet win is I just completed my third month of living expenses. That is good. I've been noticing that. I think the pattern is a lot of people waited to after the fourth, maybe after the vacation to start, which is there's nothing wrong with it. Something's better than nothing. Well, I'm starting to notice a pattern. I'm seeing a lot of 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. So I was like, okay, that falls right in line with right after, vacation season, which, like I say, no big deal. 3 months is good. Wallet win number 2, had to replace my heating and air system in the house, and I actually had the money pay cash. Yep, big time wallet win there. Um, Hopefully it was the sinking fund and not the actual emergency fund. Because sinking fund and emergency fund is two different funds. Sinking fund, you're actually planning for a big purchase or a large repair, large replacement, something like that. Um, Transmission in the car, you know, oven, stove, refrigerator, the big appliances, big costs, large costs. So hopefully that was. But in any rate, you paid cash, so that is good. And this third one is very, very good. We had our first family budget night. So that is good. To have the entire family around the table and talk about finances. Yep, that's a serious wallet win there. To actually see two adults, the kids see two adults having a discussion and not an argument. Because they take that into adulthood. A lot of times with arguments, they usually won't talk about finances until they're angry, or they go the other direction and nag. One of the two depends on who has the most influence. Was it the nagger or the quiet one that they have more of the personality, and it goes into adulthood and then it comes out. But if it's discussion, that's good. Seeing a discussion and maybe seeing problem solving, planning, budgeting, the whole 9 yards, and explaining their part in it. So that is a wallet win to actually see that happen. So that being said, share your wallet win. Hashtag wallet win. Put it in the comment section, or send them like most people, a DM, email, whatever. We will make sure and share them. All right, let's get into this topic. Um, this evening's topic is a sensitive, not sensitive, but it's very important. It's not discussed a lot. I remember years ago, that was one of our more popular shows. We did a show about it, and it was really popular. It had a lot of people thinking, um, especially women in the workforce. But the topic is about under earning. Are you accepting less than your worth? And the reason why I'm talking about it is most of the time when we're working with someone, we're talking budgeting, we're talking things like that, overspending, and you need to cut back and things like that. It's usually trying to get people to, live within their means, stop overextending themselves, things like that. And make sure, because they do have the income, they're just overspending and they're not spending on what's important. They investing in other areas of life. And we help them understand, if you don't reel it in, it's going to be hard to achieve your goals. That's a majority of the people. But probably 20%, 20 to 25% of the people that we talk to, they're just not earning enough money to reach their goals. And it's not these, and when we talk about the under earners, these are the people that they're not, they're earning less than their potential. And despite their needs and desires, they're earning less than their potential. These are smart. Everyone's smart, but it's the person that they have these big dreams, big desires. They want to do this, but they're not earning the income that's needed to support that lifestyle, or they're not actually, they're not taking the steps needed in their career. They're not managing their career, or they're not, then whatever career they're in. Say, for instance, if it is a high paying career, they're usually one that will be on the lower spectrum of the earning curve. So, and they spend most of their life in like entry level type positions, lower positions, things like that. They don't push themselves, or you know intentionally manage their career where they're intentionally going up the ladder. Usually if something does happen, it may not last for long, and I'll get more into that. But that's what the definition of an under earner is. It's just someone who's earned less than their potential despite their desire to do so. So I just wanted to share a few. There's a number of traits of an under earner, because a lot of times it's hard to identify them. And so unless you're really, really talking with them and having intentional conversations, they may not even know that they're an under earner. And it usually takes someone on the outside looking in to help them understand it. But one of the major traits of an under earner that we see is they live in financial chaos. It's just chaotic. Their finances are chaotic. They may be living, paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not talking about someone who maybe had a very good job, a good pay and everything, and something happened, they lost their job, and that sort of put things out of whack for a little while. I'm talking about, these are the people that's just how they are living. That's their ecosystem. I like to use that term. That's their ecosystem. They're living the paycheck. They struggle to make ends meet. They rack up a lot of debt, and they basically move from financial crisis to financial crisis. There's always a crisis with them. And when you talk with them, they use words like, I feel like I'll never get ahead. That type of stuff, and it is true. When you're talking to someone that's earning a lot of money, they just say, I don't know if I'll ever get this under control. It's a different type of a conversation. When they're saying, I don't think I'll ever get ahead, that's usually the sign of someone who may not be earning to their potential. They're like fed up with work. They're sort of tired all the time, because it's a strain to constantly be, in that constant state of chaos and crisis. It can be exhausted mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, the whole nine yards. It starts to cause illnesses, things like that. That's why, like, people, that lives in poverty, they can't afford maybe health care and stuff like that. But it's just that day-to-day strain of trying to survive that just basically breaks them down. As part of, they can't afford health care, and then they're like stressed out constantly. And with under earners, they're sort of like that. They could be working more than one job also. They could be working, putting in long days. they don't take days off, and things still don't work out. That's because they're just under earning. They're just not earning enough to really keep up, with the. I always say that if it's not keeping up with inflation, that's probably a good sign. You know, that's the college college graduate who's working jobs and there's nothing wrong with it, because they're important to me. But maybe that person, they have an MBA and things like that, but they're working 2 or 3 jobs at fast food restaurants, things like that. Even though they have the degrees, they have everything that could get them in a good job, they just settle for those areas, and it's like it's tiring them out, and they're constantly tired, you know. And so that's one of the big ones, and they're constantly in financial chaos, you know. um, Another one is with them, they with that group, they underestimate their worth. They really don't know what they're worth. Even though they can get the numbers are easy to get. I mean, you go to any either state government website about employment, it'll tell you what the median income is, the average, and then the upper side of the income of each industry and each position, things like that. And most of the time, the under earner, they underestimate their worth. They'll have the college degrees, or they'll have everything, they'll have the time, they'll have everything, but they just don't see themselves. They just don't connect their time, their knowledge, their skills, their experience, between their action and behaviors. They have everything they need, but their behaviors, they won't assert themselves, or they'll you see you we hear the term imposter syndrome. They feel like imposters, things like that, and so they're constantly settling for entry level type positions, the lower parts of in departments. They won't ask for raises, things like that, and that now they're frustrated. They're angry. And there's another point that will build on this particular point, but that is the main point there, that they underestimate their worth. And the other one is, behind that, they are self-saboteurs. They sabotage themselves, and that can come in so many forms with that they don't realize. Because they're underestimating their worth. They're unable to recognize their successes, and they procrastinate. They job hop. Sometimes they take on too much. Sometimes they take on too little. They take on so much that they can't get anything done very well, or they take on very inconsequential projects, things that, if it really doesn't impact their career, for a lack of a better term, they take on the little things. Um, I always compare it to a marathon runner. They've trained, and they train hard every day, and they put in the work and do this, and they run the marathon. They're in front. They're winning. And they stop 10 yards before the end to tie their shoes or something like that. And then people pass them and finish and win. That's self-sabotage. Your shoelace is not that important to where you couldn't wait 10 more yards. And that's what you've ran over 26 miles. Now all of a sudden 10 yards become your shoelaces have stopped you from crossing the finish line first. And then the ones behind you, they pass you, and then now you're angry about that. They're frustrated. They're in a state of frustration because they're sabotaging themselves. They're doing all of the work, and they're probably just as talented, if not more talented, more gifted, better trained, better qualified. But at that last stages or whatever, they self-sabotage. They may work hard in spurts, and they'll get the promotions. And with the promotion comes the pay and all of this. And then 6 months, a year later, all of a sudden something happens and they say, I don't know what it is. Well, it's probably self-sabotage. Figured out something to get out of it, for lack of a better term. So unearners, they can be self-saboteurs. Then they go into giving their power away. They never take responsibility for where they are. They're always waiting. They're always waiting for some outside thing. Um, if only I'd win the lottery. They're waiting for the lottery. Um, I'm waiting for that husband to come along or that wife. In today's time, some women, they make just as much more than men do. So some people are waiting on that from whatever side. The system is rigged. That type of statement. If only my job paid more. If only my boss respected me more. If it's always something outside, and they projected it out. They projected onto something else. And anytime you project onto something else, that automatically means you don't have power over that. So they do it, and that's also a form of self-sabotage. To constantly put the blame, when it's just you. And with that, and this is the last point I'll make for the sake of time. And with that, they begin to feel trapped and hopeless. They go into feeling trapped. That's when they say, I don't know what's wrong. I just feel stuck. I just feel like I don't have any control over my life. And they justify, they rationalize, and they deny. They feel stuck, but they won't take responsibility for being stuck. And no matter what you say, if you're talking to them, they have a comeback for everything. No matter what you say, they can explain everything going wrong in their life, and it's not their fault. It's not them. Maybe you haven't looked at your skill set. Maybe in your particular field, everyone has this degree, or they have this education. Maybe they have this designation. Maybe they have this license. Maybe they have this, and you can justify why you don't have it. Well, I'm not like everyone else. I don't, they don't have kids. They don't know. You're not the only person with kids. You're not the only person married. You're not the only person. Far from it. Maybe it's just that these people are just more driven, and they're just taking more responsibility and taking control of their career and managing their career. Maybe they're just good at managing their career. Because the downside with that, with the stuck thing is that when you get to that point, you almost paint yourself in the corner to where you can't even get a job in the field you spent most of your time working in, because you just didn't manage things correctly. You didn't build your network. You didn't take on those important projects. You settle for those smaller projects that really didn't have anything to do with the overall success of the department could have done with or without it. But when it came to those big ones, those, the larger projects that were really important, you didn't take those on. And so now you've just painted yourself at the bottom of the ladder, and it's very noisy at the bottom of the ladder. You can't hear, and everyone sort of speaks the same language, and it's not a positive, growth language. Everyone down there is using that. If only, if only, if only. Everyone. So you can have very good conversations with if onlys, because everyone's speaking the same language. So, and it actually, so if you're talking to someone that's justifying their stuff and you're justifying theirs, and they're agreeing with you, you do have you a good company of folks. It's not getting you where you want to go. It's not getting you the pay that you want. It's not getting you the promotions and the upward mobility, but you are getting something that's very satisfying. It makes you feel good. It gives you that emotional release. And then you start the thing over. And most people think that they're staying level like that when it's really they're going down. They're spiraling down is what it is. And then they sort of put themselves out of their own careers, and it ends. So that's just some of them. There's quite a few more. Um, and it was really studied. Really didn't come into play till about 15, 20 years ago. So it's not really that, it's still kind of new. Um, but more and more psychologists, especially in workforce, financial therapists, they're starting to notice that, this hang up here is really what's causing your career to not go the way that you wanted to go. And you have justifications. It's just like people that don't get along well with other people. Is some people, they just don't manage this area of life very well, you know, and so they have to seek, therapy and counseling, things like that to help them out. So just wanted to share that for some out there who may be feeling that they're not earning. They're seeing their um, people that they maybe graduated school with, or they're in the same industry, the same profession, and they're like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Why are they earning so much more than me? What's this, that, and the other? Okay, well, it's time to take a look in the mirror. That's where you always start. Always start in the mirror. You know, this economy, if someone's succeeding in something, you can succeed in it. If someone's earning this much, you can earn this much, because these economies now, they're all about growth. Yes, it may take a little bit more time, things like that. Maybe some things you need to learn. But if you're willing to put in the work, there you go. It'll work. It'll work if you work it. That's one of the old sayings. It'll work if you work it. So that's where I wanted to end it there. And I wanted to do the question of the day with that point. Do you believe that you are earning what you are worth in your profession or your career or your job? Do you believe that you are earning what you're worth? And believe in it. Once you ask yourself the question, then sit down and say, okay, this is the industry that I'm in, and do some research. Okay, I've been in this particular industry for 10 years. And based on that, based on the experience, my skills, and everything that I have, the pay is this. Am I earning that? And if not, why not? That's the way to ask yourself the question. So I hope that was helpful to someone out there. And if it is, share it, subscribe to the channel, share it. We're on Facebook, we're on other social medias, YouTube. Share it with people, subscribe, like. And until tomorrow, I'll see you same time, same channel. Good night.